I wanted to put together a video to walk through the setup of transferring the Fluid Ninja volume fog onto a voxel landscape, as we discussed in some chat on Discord. So basically, this will be, I'll try and keep this as quick as possible, but also hit all the important bits. This is Unreal 5.5. It should work the same in 5.6. I'm using Fluid Ninja 19544 and Voxel Plugin P7 from the Voxel 2 P7. So those are the bits and pieces that are going to be coming together in this thing. And I am on the volume generic 3 level from Fluid Ninja, the medium scale example driven by Fluid Sims. This level itself is pretty complicated, just in that it allows you to swap between a bunch of different examples to kind of see them live, which we don't need and I don't want. So I will recommend that you just cut and paste some stuff into a nice, clean, open level, you know, I would always grab the utilities just because they're handy. The pawn, everything under the pawn here, and then the height fog because I'm lazy and don't want to have to set that stuff up again. So if you literally copy paste this into a new, clean, empty level, you should be good to go. Fortunately, I have done that, and so we're going to hop over to this new empty level, and I'll let you know what we're looking at over here. So this is a new empty level, or a new level where I've got a few basic things kind of dropped in, and I'll kind of step through it all. But this is essentially just the pawn with that same copied elements over. In the other level, you have more Fluid Sim elements because there are different resolutions and some that are static and not. And so I simply trimmed out the ones I didn't want, including a decal pass and whatnot. So I have my fog volume, my heterogeneous volume, and the simulation attached to the player. I got the utilities hanging around, and I've got the experimental height fog. So all this stuff is literally just cut and paste from the other level, or you can parent it under your own pawn, and it should work the same, I believe, he says, hoping he's not wrong. In any event, the other stuff that I've done in here, like it's just an empty level. It's got a direction light, skylight, atmosphere, volume clouds, and that copied environment fog from the level. There is a voxel world in here, which is just a very basic, I mean, I'll show it to you. It's like 2 nodes. Like, it's just some noises smashed on top of each other. There's nothing really special other than to give us something to look at. And this is not a voxel tutorial, so I'm not really going to get into it. But it's just writing to the default layer. Everything's at the origin, and it's a square size right now. Again, keeping it simple and straightforward just to kind of keep this meat and potatoes. So I've got that. I also have set up in the third person character here a ridiculously simple digging at runtime kind of thing. Just I press a button, I spawn a stamp, and it should dig into the voxel world as we're going. So with ignoring all the Fluid Ninja stuff for a hot minute, when we jump into the level, you know, I've got the character, I can do some, you know, digging. The materials are all doing their sort of voxely responses. And so, yay, we're in a good spot here. If I actually turn on now the Fluid Ninja stuff that I'd had hidden, and again, this is just sort of cut and paste from that other level. When I hit play this time, same stuff, but you can start seeing some of the fog showing up. But it's obviously not paying any attention to our landscape. And if I dispossess real fast and then kind of look around, you can see it has brought over the right stuff. We're all still just kind of default. So you've got that denser heterogeneous volume by the player and then a much broader fog volume extending out. So awesome. The thing that we need to do here is basically set up, the thing that Ninja is looking for is essentially a runtime virtual texture height field so that it can essentially displace those fog volumes along the curve of the landscape volume that we've got going here. So I have added a runtime virtual texture volume and done my best to kind of, align it to the voxel world, the footprint out there. And I'll come back to this at the very end because the flexibility of the voxel world opens up maybe some challenges on some different setups. But again, treating it just like a landscape now, so square, centered, and just kind of moving forward. So that's kind of the neutral state. If this stuff is working, you're ready to start kind of customizing it. But so far, this has just been bringing in a bunch of kind of vanilla setups and just sort of, kind of bringing everything together in one new level. So from here, we start making a bunch of changes. So we've got the runtime virtual texture volume added, and now I'll start doing all this stuff, live, so you can watch it and not be annoyed with me. And so we're just going to make a new runtime virtual texture, and we'll just call it example v2. Because yes, shocker, I did test this before. And this setup also assumes, well, let's edit this real quick. And I'm going to make this 2K and make it height. And then we'll save that. And this also assumes that on the voxel world has its mega material, which is layers of instances of what is essentially the Quixel base material that the Voxel plugin provides. And in that, I've made the adjustment where it's that instance is, or that parent is outputting color and world Z to the height channel to the runtime virtual textures. So every layer that you might add to your voxel world is capturing the correct data and gonna do the, air quotes, right thing when it comes to the virtual texture authoring. So that all of this assumes that you have this set up as well. So again, we will now, we told the volume what texture it's writing to. We now go to the voxel world and scroll down here to rendering draw in virtual textures, and we give it the V2. And you can see instantly here it has updated our little graphic, yay. And essentially the way this whole setup works is that virtual texture, that height field that we just created and sampled from the voxel world, gets sampled twice. The simulation, the fluid simulation, the Fluid Ninja runs, and then these two actors, or these components kind of hanging down under the character here, they both sample it, and then separately one displaces the volume fog against that height map, and then the other displaces the heterogeneous fog. So where that's done is in two places, but the same place on both. So for both the F vol and the H vol, if you look at them, there is a little component hanging off the end here, which is the write landscape height data to render target. So we're going to select that, and what we're going to do on both of these actors is essentially duplicate this material, rename it, save it, apply it back so we're not editing and messing up the Fluid Ninja example level. And then in the new material instances that we've just made, we're going to give it the runtime virtual texture that we just saved out. I know that's a mouthful, but here we go. It's gonna be good. You'll love it. So we'll go to the fog volume here. I'm just gonna again duplicate this and call it example v2, and then I'm gonna save it and apply it. So we've just done that for the fog volume, so the 200 meter, and then we'll do the same thing for the heterogeneous. Go to the component, find that material, duplicate this one, xv2, save it and apply it, xv2. Okay, great. So we duplicated it, so these materials are assigned to the right actors, but they're still looking in the wrong place. So what we need to do now, I'm gonna close a couple things off screen, is I'm gonna open both of these materials. So this is the heterogeneous one, and then the fog volume one. There's some nanite complaints down there, don't you guys worry about that. No, that's not the one I wanted. Stand by. I picked the wrong thing. Sorry, I made a boo-boo. So we're fixing it right now. 200. No, we didn't. I'm fine. I did the right thing. I just opened the wrong materials because I'm all anxious about this. So on the component, not the actor material, but I'm going to open the writing to texture, and then writing to texture, and then here we go. So now we've got both those materials opened up. And I'm going to do the fog volume, the wider dispersal first. And this has got a bunch of values in here that we'll kind of walk through, but the first thing that we're going to do is assign it the new texture we just made, which is this, and this just goes into the RVT texture. Then the position and scale is this is the meat and potatoes. This is where all the good stuff happens, and also, frankly, the kind of I find a little tricky, and I think it will get trickier with voxel worlds as your worlds get more complicated, because they can be arbitrary compared to landscapes, but you'll see what I mean. So the sample volume extents y and extents x is just the size, the world size of the texture volume that you've got, and mine here is just 20K. So we're gonna drop that into both of these and assign the texture. Oops. Okay, great. And the target extents, I'm going to leave alone because, again, this is from the Fluid Ninja demo. So this is the 200 meter fog coverage. The volume position is the weird bit. So I'm going to leave that alone with these sort of wonky numbers. I'm going to save this stuff. And I'm going to play it real fast. So kind of need to show what's going on here. So what happened? What's going on? Where's my stuff? I'm going to jump out of the pawn real quick. And I'm going to kind of start flying around. Okay, apologies for that. Back for a second. We are where I had I got interrupted and had to take a quick break. But we've got our two materials here. We're at have adjusted our extents on both of them, and we have some kind of arbitrary numbers in our position offset. And then we've got one volume for the fog covering 200 meters, and the tighter heterogeneous volume doing a 25. So everything is connected correctly, but if we hit play, we don't see what we want to see. And if we are trying to fly around and find stuff, depending on the values where you were coming from and where your landscape or voxel world is now, it might show a little bit of it. But like if you reset this position, like, hey, I don't know what these numbers are, so I'm just going to try like resetting it back to this default number, and then we kind of jump back and we're looking around and we don't really see anything, and I think it needs to update in this, but it might be easier to see this in a simulation mode. But with the new numbers, the 6,000, things start showing up. And so what can be tricky with this is where that kind of volume, the pivot point offset of the landscapes versus the voxels matters. So instead of the landscape, if the pivot is at there 0, 0, you can kind of imagine, you know, top down on a landscape, you've got a UV space of 0 to 1. Since the pivot's in the middle, for the voxel stamps at least, and you know, that means my UV space is actually -5 to 0.5, if you can kind of imagine it that way. So we have to do some offsetting here. So what that means is the best way that I have currently found to figure this stuff out is to take your sample extends volume and then basically offset it by half down below. I believe that's half. And then we'll hit simulate again. And that's looking pretty good. Like that starts feeling like it's wrapping to the surface. But what I have found personally is that, hit the G key to get rid of that annoying little graph there. But these values are kind of off a little, and this might boil down to like aesthetic taste and just rounding stuff with the voxels and who knows what, but you can grab these values and start kind of like tweaking it a little bit, and basically you can see yourself sliding the ghost shape of that hill around. I mean, you're doing it like some pretty small volumes, or pretty small numbers, but you can see like, you know, maybe 60 or 70 points here and there, so, you know, like less than a meter. But it can matter, like especially when you start getting some pretty specific features going. So I would kind of recommend just taking a hot minute to do this step and just make sure that the values line up the way you like them, and then do it again with the other heterogeneous volume as well. So we've got our same sample size, so we're just gonna make it smaller. So this is just half and offsetting it again. We'll save that, and we'll hit simulate. And here we go. So now we've got our higher density, higher resolution sim close to us. It's following the ground, and we've got the more distant kind of fog working back there. And again, same thing with the offsets here. Like, you know, you can see what this offset is doing, and again, some minor adjustments I find can be pretty nice. I'm not trying to make it super pretty right now, but like, you get the idea. It's, you know, you're dealing with some pretty big numbers, so little offsets can really kind of like help it wrap around specific shapes. But all that is to say that now, when I actually go in and play, I've got all my volumes. I got my character running around. We're swirling. Do the mouse thing. And when I do the voxel world digging or making some runtime edits, you know, it's following along. Like, it's just going to instantly do the right thing. And so at this point, you're functionally correct, I think. I mean, Andres may, may be pulling his hair out watching me right now, but the whole point is you could now do your look dev and whatnot from this point, and you can see some little artifacts there, but this is kind of the setup. And so again, this is with Ninja 19544. So it will be interesting to see how any of the interface options change, how we can get these things to talk to each other in Ninja 2. I will, oh, the other thing I wanted to show, last little bit, is with respect to overhangs. So let me just dig a thing real fast. This particular method, I mean, you can see it right there, like, it is a height field. So just like Substance Designer, when it has these big gaps between height values, I mean, you can see it right here where my mouse is, but it's just going to shear, like, so it'll fall down into like smooth kind of valleys and whatnot, but it can't go under anything, at least my implementation of this, which is, again, super straightforward. But so it's just stuff to keep an eye out on. Like, again, there's no set dressing going on here. There's no anything else. So maybe there are things that you could do to kind of hide it, tweak it, or whatever. But this technique does not solve any of those big problems. It's literally just sort of shrink wrapping the fog onto the topmost layer of whatever shows up in that runtime texture. So anyways, I know that was a lot, and hopefully I didn't screw up too many of the explanations, but I think if you just kind of do the cut and paste into a clean level, you should be able to follow along and get this kind of set up and have a much better sense of where all the connections are made and which materials are doing the heavy lifting in terms of getting it to kind of conform to whatever your landscape is. So I hope that helps. And if you have any other, I don't know, better ideas or better implementations, let me know. Thanks.